Hi, hello, how are you? Today is Monday, which means it is Makeup Monday. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, good, because I have never done this before. Basically what Makeup Monday is I'm going to film myself talking about random topics that I find interesting every Monday. This can either be movies that I've watched that I just really feel like they deserve some sort of commentary, or just random topics that I find truly interesting. Welcome back, my loves. Let's get into a very exciting video. Today we are discussing the interesting movie After. If you don't know what After is, well, you're one of the lucky ones. It's a young adult teenage romance drama movie? Is it supposed to be a rom-com? I don't know. It was so terrible I can't even categorize it for you. The synopsis of the movie is that a prude college girl meets the college bad boy who happens to come from a very rich family and changes him by him falling in love with her. So basically like 20 other movies that are available to watch. What makes After, I think, so different and caused it to be such a huge hit was apparently it was based on a One Direction fan fiction. What I can tell you is that the movie alone is awful. So before we get too far into the video, make sure to check out my description box below. I have linked my other socials down there. I have Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter if you guys want to check those out. Also, make sure you leave a like and a comment down below to tell me if you like this video and what you want more of. And go ahead and check out my channel as well. Subscribe. I post makeup videos every Monday, covers every Friday, and vlogs every other Wednesday. So if any of those things sound interesting to you, go ahead and go check them out in my channel. So I'm going to be going through the whole movie step by step with you, which I know, real fun for you guys who did not ask for this at all. But also, like, let me just start with one of my biggest complaints, which was that there were so many parts of this movie that were just entirely unnecessary. Like, not even in the way that they were just like, oh, that was kind of unnecessary, but whatever, it was a cool shot. Like, no, they were just totally unnecessary. What made me so mad about that is I was like, maybe I would have actually understood the movie. Maybe the movie would have had an actual plot line if they had just cut out these random montage scenes. So that brings us to my first note. The whole first part of the movie is unnecessary. The movie starts with her like preparing to go to college. We start with like a montage of her in her room like packing and like her staying up at night. And by her, I haven't even introduced the characters yet. Forgive me, I'm new to this. Our main character, protagonist in this movie is Tessa Young, I think they said her last name was. They say it like once. Now Tessa is literally described as a prude. Like, that's it. That is her personality point. She's a prude. And they extensively remind you of this like 3 million times. It's obnoxious, honestly. Yes, so Tessa is, you see that Tessa is just like worried about going to school for like the first, I would say, good 7 minutes of the movie. It's like, why do we need that? Just start at the school. We finally get to college and Tessa's boyfriend and Tessa's mom are walking her up to her room to help her unpack and drop her off and stuff. When we get there, we are fed more stereotypes. Tessa, the prude, is of course living with a stereotypical edgy girl. Like, I don't even know what they were trying to do here. You walk into the room and her roommate's side is completely decked out in like dark colors. Her roommate's got dark hair with like a bunch of red streaks and highlights in it. And she's got a nose ring, she's got some tattoos, she's dressed very scandalous. And it's not like, ugh, because that's how they depicted a girl, because like if you want to dress like that, you do you. I'm here for you, queen. But it's like, ugh, because you know they only did that to like show how good Tessa is. And I'm like, you can dress like the roommate and still be a good person. I'm also just gonna be calling the roommate because they never even bothered to mention her name, so you know. Her roommate is immediately smoking in the room as the mom and brother is in there, which is so unrealistic because you can't have drugs or alcohol in a dorm room. Does that mean it doesn't happen? No, but I promise you nobody's stupid enough to do it when a parent is moving their child into the room. But just to show how edgy her roommate is, she starts smoking in the middle of them unpacking her. Tessa's mom freaks out, and Tessa's like, Mom, you have to trust that I'm just a good person and I would never do those things, which once again is reinforcing the stereotype that if you're not a prude who wears the ugliest clothing I've ever seen in my life, you know, you're shit. So I was already pissed off in this movie. But we go back to the room, and Tessa's roommate asks her, who brings books to college? What? Most people, maybe it's just me because I'm a big reader, but most people I know brought some kind of a book to college. It was a line that you could tell was written by like a 50-year-old who probably never went to college, about like what the cool kids versus the nerds would be like in college, and it's like it's not accurate. This movie thought the best transition from meeting her roommate would be to an economics class. And it's like we do meet Landon. So Landon is Hardin's brother. Landon is the one ray of sunshine in the movie. First of all, he's cute, really cute. He is the only character that makes legit any sense. And to be honest, I would say the only good actor in the movie. We meet Landon. That's because Landon, like Tessa, is a nerd. And they both showed up for class 20 minutes early. And then we get an economics class where the professor is actually, like, they give the professor lines talking about economics. Also, it was really awkward because, like, you can tell that the point of this scene was to establish a friendship between Landon and Tessa. But when they walk into the classroom, even though they've been talking for like 20 minutes outside about who knows what, economics I guess, they sit like with one seat in between them. Like they were already social distancing. Like, they sit with one seat between them, which was so awkward, especially because then other randos just come in and like sit right next to Landon and he doesn't talk to them at all. So there's like this one awkward seat in between them as they're still talking, even though everybody else sits right next to it. It was so weird. Professor actually starts talking about economics, and I was just like, who asked for this? Who took time out of this movie to talk about economics? Tessa keeps being Tessa. One day her roommate comes out of nowhere as she's in the library and is like, oh my god, guess what? It's the best day of our lives. And Tessa's all like, oh my god, what happened? What's going on? And the roommate, of course, is like, we're gonna go to a party. First of all, they hyped it up so much. Like, nobody, you just go. It's not that big of a deal. You're not like, oh my god, I'm going to a party. No. The second that the roommate says it, Tessa, of course, is all like, I don't know, I shouldn't go. I can't do that. And then, of course, she goes to the party. They included a totally unnecessary scene. They're getting ready for the party. Tessa's literally wearing a dress, like a red lace dress. Like, something you would wear to a wedding. And the roommate's like, no. At least wear like shorts and a t-shirt. You don't gotta dress scandalous, but don't wear an engagement party dress. But Tessa's like, that's not who I am. I don't dress like that. Oh, I haven't talked about how she met Hardin yet. Well, this is kind of out of order, but oops. Let's jump back in time and talk about how Tessa met Hardin, because teen romance movies, I've noticed as I've gotten older, have this really bad habit of making these really creepy, like abusive guys the main love interest. And they kind of promote this same old storyline of like, yeah, well, it's creepy what he does and it's not okay, but you love him and he loves you and you're making him better with your love. And like, I don't know about y'all, but I used to like eat that shit up like it was breakfast, honey. I used to be like, oh my god, he can be a terrible person, but if he loves me, he'll change. And that's just wrong. Listen, somebody's gotta change for themselves, because you do not want to be the person responsible for their behavior. Like, you're not their mom, especially when you're a teenage kid, because hate to be that person, but like, you are not gonna marry the guy you date at 18. And if you do, my apologies, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. Like, the idea that you have to care for them like that is just so toxic and destructive to women. These young adult teen romance movies have this horrible habit of depicting creepy behavioral attitudes and like abusive, like anger issues are like things to be sought after by women in relationships. And after, it just takes that trope to town. Like, it does not mess around with that trope. It said, this seems to work, let's just do this times 10. So when Hardin, our love interest for Tessa, meets Tessa, Tessa is getting out of the shower and going back to her room to get dressed. She's only in a towel, which is super realistic because, like, when you're in a dorm, you have like 2 showers per floor, maybe 3, and you don't take your clothes in there with you. Like, you just walk back to your room in a towel, and that's how it goes. She opens her door, starts pulling out clothes, is getting ready to get ready for bed, and you look in the mirror, and there's Hardin. He's sitting on her bed reading some book. I think it was The Great Gatsby, but which is not even important to the plot. They just try and make it like, see, he likes literature and love stories, so he's romantic, and it's like, nay. Shout out Bailey Sarian for giving me like all my vocabulary words as of recent. So he's sitting on her bed, she doesn't know who this is, and he's just reading as she's standing there in a towel, and there's nobody else in the room, it's just him. And she's all like, how did you get in here? Which, like, fair, but also, like, how are you so unconcerned that there's a random dude in your room as you are naked? You're naked. Like, there's a towel, but you're naked. Like, I would have been chased out with a baseball bat, I'll tell you what. His response is, like, to hold up some keys. Like, he doesn't even say anything. He's just like, I have the key to your room, which... Again, I would be chasing him with a baseball bat, like, where did you get these? What's going on? Who the hell are you? How did I get a stalker in the, first week? I have some questions. But Tessa, of course, is just like, okay, well then can you, like, not look? Can you go out so I can get dressed? I'm like, you don't know who he is. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't said a word to you. And instead of being like, get the frick out of my room, like, not today, honey. Who are you? She's just like, okay, well, can you go out for a minute? Like, there was no fear in that scene. She was, like, not worried at all that there was a random man in her room. And I was just like, oh, God, like, we are already hopping on that trope. His response is, don't flatter yourself. I'm not looking. And I think, like, they did it in a way where we're supposed to think that that's cute. But, like, that's... It's so far from cute. It's disgusting. That doesn't assure me, like, get out of my room. The roommate gets back, and we find out that Hardin is the roommate's friend, and she gave him the keys to get in here. Tessa's again like, can you tell him to get out? And he's finally like, oh, fine, I'll just leave then. And I'm like, why were you here? And, like, were you just... crashing here? I'm confused. Like, did you need a place to do homework? Why were you here if you weren't even gonna stay? The whole thing just did not make sense. Somehow this attracts Tessa to Hardin. How? I don't know. Again, I would have been like, stalker, call 911. So now we're at the party that Tessa finally agrees to go to, and she's with her friend, and we get to this couch scene where all of these people are playing Truth or Dare. Never in my life at a college party have I seen people play Truth or Dare. Everyone's doing like cup pawn or die, or you're just dancing to music that half the time is not even good, but you're there with your girls for a night out and you're just dancing. Like, that's what happened. You don't sit on a couch and play Truth or Dare, but, you know, for the sake of the movie, I guess we do tonight. We get to the scene and we meet kind of like the roommates friend group, but Hardin's there and he's making out. Like, there's this pink-haired girl who's so annoying and just, like the epitome of like the bitchy girl, but like the edgy bitchy girl. During the party scene there, they chose to do no music. So it's so awkward because you have like all these awkward silences, and then there's not even music to like fill those moments in. It's just like silent, completely silent. And you have like the chatter from the party filling in the silences. Like, so just like annoying because you had to block out all the background voices that they were choosing to include because it was just like distracting. Like it was annoying. And you're meeting the friend group and like they dare Hardin to kiss Tessa, and Tessa's all like, oh, I have a boyfriend, I can't do that. And then he's all like, well, do you want to do this? And she's like, obviously no, like I just said no. And yeah, like her response is to just like walk away. Oh no, my bad, hold on. Her response is to walk away after the pink-haired girl like says like, it's not a big deal, like, are you a virgin? Like something like that happens and the whole virgin card gets brought up. And Tessa gets all embarrassed and like storms off. It's her first year at college. So many people are virgins their first year in college. Like, and movies always do this too. They make you think that like if you go into college as a virgin, you're the minority in that situation. Like most people who go to college have lost their virginity. When that's just really not the case. Also, it's just like a personal preference too. Like it's not a thing, especially in college. I have never had someone be like, oh, you're a virgin, you can't sit with us. Like that's not, nobody cares. It's like your personal business and no one asks you about it either. But movies keep doing it like, oh my god, she's a virgin, how uncool. Tessa walks outside and she's had a drink. We see her call her boyfriend, Noah, who is still in high school, by the way. And he hears the noise in the background, which astounding, honestly, because I can't even hear any noise in the background. Don't know how this fool did. He hears noise in the background and figures out that Tessa is out. She's all like, it's not a big deal. He's like, you should know better than to go out with that roommate. She's a bad influence. And you very quickly realize that her boyfriend is like less of a boyfriend and more of a mom, which is so entirely annoying. She gets fed up and hangs up on him and then just starts wandering through the house, which like you don't do. Tessa somehow thinks that this is a good idea and begins to wander through the rooms. And whose room would she end up in other than Hardin's himself? Because of course she would. She's looking at all the books he has because apparently, once again, if Hardin reads like old romantic books, that somehow makes him romantic, which cancels out all of the other creepy facts and attitudes he's displaying. Hardin walks in to his room, and this is the first time I'm gonna say this about the fool, but like rightly is like, what are you doing in here? It's also kind of funny though that he reacted like that after he was just straight up chilling in her room. And Tessa just, she goes, are you drunk? What? I don't know what the intention of that was. To me, it felt very like, are you drunk? Like, why are you asking why I'm in your room? There's this whole moment of what's supposed to be sexual tension after that, and you're just like still cringing because of the whole conversation. Hardin tries to kiss her, and she's like all about it. So he asks Tessa if they're still playing Truth or Dare. And instead of that being the reason why Tessa's like, ew, wait, get away from me, do not kiss me, you creep. No, she suddenly remembers she has a boyfriend like a minute and a half later. She begins to walk home through the streets alone in a dress in the middle of the night. Like, you're like, how are you perfectly safe doing? Like, that is rule number 1 of college and parties. You don't just go off by yourself. So she makes it home safe. And the movie does this really weird thing where instead of like having characters call each other so you can hear what they're saying, they just put up text bubbles on the screen, like not even show a phone, they just put the text bubbles up on the screen. And it's really confusing and hard to follow, and it's just kind of a whole mess, but they do it anyways. Cardigan boy is like, I can't believe you did this, I'm so disappointed in you. And then he says like, your mom's very disappointed in you, which you're like, first of all, narc. You see Tessa just getting really frustrated as she's going back to her room, rightfully so. I would be pissed too, like, stay out of my business, fool. He sends a text message to her and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm being so like this way. I just do it because I care about you. And I'm like, no, you're being like, that's not affection. That's not caring. We're not going to say that that's caring about someone. That is literally being so judgmental and like possessive. Like, it's not cute. Next, we end up in like this literature class that Hardin and Tessa have together. And they're talking about Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And they're getting into this argument that shows that neither of them have read the book. And Tessa is just like arguing her own feelings, like, well, maybe nothing actually went on between them, and maybe it's all in his head that he thinks she likes him. And Hardin's just like, what are you talking, like, I was talking about the book. What are you talking about? Tessa, there's this awkward moment where she's like having a breakdown and confiding in her roommate about how protective and like her mom is, and like how controlling her mom is over her. But it was a little out of nowhere because you don't see Tessa having any problem with her mom's actions, even though you're kind of like, I don't know, lady, like you could step back a little bit. It just all comes from nowhere. And this movie like keeps doing that repeatedly. Like, they keep having someone have a breakdown and then they give us background on why they're having a breakdown, instead of like building up what's happened to them and then giving us a breakdown scene. And it's just real messy and you get lost and confused and you're like, oh, it feels very disingenuine. They're having this in a tattoo parlor, as I think her roommate's getting her butt tattooed. They could have just had it in like the dorm room and it wouldn't have felt quite so rushed. It was just like someone in the staff was like, but put it in a tattoo parlor so it's edgy. And you know, we have Tessa ranting to our good old buddy Landon about Hardin, and Landon's telling her that, you know, he's just trying to get a rise out of you, like, don't react. Tessa then, like, very sassily, which this is like the only time this entire movie that she's like sassy at all, and it kind of made me mad because I was like, Landon is not the one who deserves this, okay? She very like sassily says like, oh, he won't get a rise out of me. The next scene is of her going into this coffee shop and waiting in line to buy coffee, and Hardin is there sitting down drinking coffee and reading a book, and she just stares at him for like an uncomfortable period of time. Twilight already did this. You can leave it to them, sis. She's the one who is complaining about Hardin, and you are very well aware of that. He realizes she has a staring problem and like goes up to her and starts talking to her. He's all like, come with me somewhere, or to an unknown location where you don't know anything about me. Every interaction we've had has left you angry at me. And because she's Tessa, of course she does, because that's a good idea. If there is a guy and he was just like, oh, get in my car and come with me, we're going like to an unknown spot, I'd be like, you have to tell me where, what time will we be back? Like, I would not go. I'm not trying to be killed. I've watched too much SVU for this, okay? Absolutely not, no. So they go to the woods. Like, Hardin straight up drives through the trees. How does he get the car through there? Because it's not like a Jeep or a truck. It's like this old convertible. He takes her to the middle of these woods where they have to hike to this like pier in this lake, right? Tessa is in a white, ugly ass, flowy dress, right? And when they get to the lake after hiking through the woods and that, there is no stains, there is no rips. I was mad, okay? Because it looks like you just pulled it out of the washer, and it's just like you use the like special detergent that like for white clothing. And I'm like, I know sis did not hike through the woods, and I know she didn't. Landon takes her to this lake to go swimming. Again, like, Tessa's still dating her boyfriend. She thinks that this is just them being friends, which, again, I know, confusing, because, like, she was just complaining about how annoying he is. So why are they friends? I could not tell you. She asked for privacy while she's changing, and he's like, here, you can wear my black t-shirt. It's getting changed. And like, first of all, he like turns around and is looking at her changed after she specifically tells him not to, which is like red flag number like 500 at this point. If a girl asks you, please do not look at me. I am changing. Like, you should, if you really respect her and care about her, then, like, you're gonna respect that. You know what I mean? He swims over to the dock to help her get into the water because, you know, they gotta make this sexy and build the tension. Helps her get into the water by lifting her and literally sliding her all the way down his body. And I'm like, is a t-shirt really supposed to make this less sexual? We get the scene then when they're in the lake. They're supposed to be like building the tension, and then Hardin's all like, hold your breath. Tessa responds in what's supposed to be a sexy manner. And she just like, she literally goes like to plug her nose to hold her breath as they go underwater, and I was cackling because plugging your nose is never gonna be sexy. Like, it's just not. I have never seen someone manage to sexily plug their nose. Like, it's never gonna be sexy. Like, if this is all it took, like, hi boys, are you seduced yet? Oh man, they really tried it, but no, it didn't work. It was so comical. It was so comical. Tessa asks Hardin, who's your favorite person in the world? And he goes, without any hesitation, myself. And like, y'all really think this is attractive? Like, that's what it does it for you? They start talking about Tessa's boyfriend, which already is kind of like annoying because you know that this scene is like supposed to be about like building their relationship. No judgment, I guess. It's not my life. Dating's like one of the worst things you can do to someone. Just break up with someone, honestly. They're kind of like trying to romanticize cheating, and you just end up feeling bad. Hardin asked Tessa what she likes about her boyfriend, and this girl really can only come up with, well, he's nice to me. That's the only thing you like about someone. Just be their friend. Do not date them. You're under the impression that her and her boyfriend have been together for a really long time. So the fact that that's the most she can say about him is like really, honestly, like messed up. You're like, really? That's all you can get. That's it? They get really up close and personal, and they start looking like they're about to make out. And Tessa says, I thought you just wanted to be friends. It's so funny because there was like never any indication that that's what he wanted at all. Like, first of all, you guys are going out and doing this after you were just telling his brother that you, like, were not gonna let him get a rise out of you and that you hated him and all of this stuff. So, like, why do you all of a sudden want to be his friend? What gave you the idea he wanted to be your friend? Before he tried to make out with you the first time, or after the second time he tried to make out with you? It was just such a bad line because there's never any indication that he wanted to be her friend. Like, from the beginning, it's been the entire opposite. So remember how we were talking about Cardigan Boy and how, you know, they just shouldn't bring him into this and be talking about him because it's going to end up with her cheating on him right after she talked about him? Yep, that's what happened. She is full on making out with Hardin in the middle of this lake right after she was talking about her boyfriend. Back on the docks, Hardin is like touching on Tessa. Things are starting to steam up. Tessa begins to have what low-key looks like a panic attack. I was like, you better stop. Homegirl is not giving you consent right now. But Hardin's only response to that is not, he doesn't go like, are you okay? Are you, like, do you need me to do anything? Like, what's going on? Like, none of that. He's like, what? Have you never been touched before? Again, y'all are attracted to this? But suddenly Tessa magically does a 360 because even though she was just like having the beginning stages of a panic attack, she turns around and is all like, why'd you stop? Man, if when I had a panic attack, it could just go away like that because I wanted it to, my life would be incredible. They go up to this diner and she's sitting there like awkwardly smiling at him like she's like in love. Like, Cardigan Boy is still your boyfriend. All you did was kiss once. Like, that's it. She's over here looking at him like he is the sun on her earth, and you're like, what has he done to deserve this? Like, what? And the pink hair girl shows up and is like all in Hardin's business, like all over it, climbing on him. She's like resting, like sitting like this next to him. I'm over here like, excuse me, ma'am, did your parents never teach you the bubble law? Like, my bubble, your bubble. Hardin's up here like, nah sis, this is my bubble, goodbye. And she's just like, I'm gonna pop it. This sign cannot stop me because I cannot read. Like, she's just not taking no for an answer, which, like, no means no, ladies and gentlemen. Even if it's coming from a man, no still means no. Because these movie writers are stupid, he instead tells Tessa to leave for a moment so he can talk to his friends. And because Tessa is stupid, she does. She realizes that he is embarrassed to be seen with her publicly. He comes over, they start talking. She, instead of even like acknowledging that he's embarrassed to be seen with her, like she kind of says it, but then she like brushes right over it and forgives him even though he doesn't apologize about it or say that he's not embarrassed to be seen with her. She just says, you know, I'm gonna tell Cardigan Boy about us and like break up with him. And Hardin freaks out. He's like, there is no us. And he seems to have a real problem with her considering that they could be anything more than just like hooking up, which is very believable to us because he has not shown that he gives a crap about her once throughout this whole movie. So she just looks shocked, like this is news to her. Like, he just kissed me and he was supposed to be like ready to marry me. Like, what is going on? He then tells her, and I quote, "Look, it was fun, but I don't date." This is the guy you want young girls chasing after, because when a guy says that, like, I'm sorry, he means it. Guys do act like that, but they don't want to date you when they see you with someone else. They just want to possess you. That's just like, oh, I want her. But as soon as you're there and you're 100% into them again, they get bored and they leave. So when you promote this to girls, especially young girls, you're teaching them to like stick around and wait for the guys that are never going to treat them right. So now Cardigan Boy has shown up. Of course, this is all happening like the day after her and Hardin are done. Like, and this scene just like really validated for me that like my homie might be a little bit high strung, but he did not deserve to be cheated on, because like I have never had a boy bring me flowers, okay? Like, that is dedication. That is a man right there. She's acting all glad to see him, like she didn't just spend the entire day making out in a lake with another guy. That her boyfriend's sleeping over and staying in her dorm with her, and they're sleeping in the same bed. Her phone rings, and then all of a sudden Tess is walking in the middle of the night, again, alone. How she's alive, I do not know. Because we cut to Landon frantically trying to clean up a kitchen that's been destroyed. Like, there is glass on the floor, there's dirt, flowers everywhere. And we soon realize that that is because Hardin had a tantrum. The way they present it to you in the movie is very much like Hardin did this because he was mad that she was with someone else. I think Landon's line is something like, oh, he was saying something about his dad and then you came up quite a few times. So they present it as though it's a problem with him about her. Back to business. So he basically, Landon just says all this cheesy stuff that in essence boils down to the fact that he wants to be with her now that he has seen her with her boyfriend. Hardin then says, you don't need to cover up for me because things are getting hot and heavy for them. But I was confused because that very much insinuates that she dresses the way she does because she has some sort of body issues, or she doesn't, feel comfortable with people seeing her body in the sense that she doesn't like how she looks, which has never been introduced once. She doesn't cover up for him. She doesn't cover up for anyone but herself. Tessa falls asleep at Hardin's place because of course she does, which leads to an awkward reunion between her and her boyfriend because her boyfriend went looking for her, rightfully so, after she just disappeared. Again, homeboy deserved better. Like, he took the time to go out and look for you because he was scared something happened to you and you were just off cheating. So nice. All of a sudden, Hardin's there. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't even walk up next to Tessa. He just stands by this tree, like a good couple feet away from them. But apparently, Cardigan Boy gets what's going on. They do this scene so that Tessa, has a breakdown. She's chasing him all the way to his car, trying to get him to stop and talk to her. And the fact that the actress is crying in the way she is, all make it seem very much like she is heartbroken that he's leaving her, which this entire movie has told us is not the case. She watches his car leave and then turns around, goes back to Hardin to start yelling at him. And it's like, Hardin's an asshole. It says, you made the decision to cheat.
that one is on you. Where Landon's, questioning whether or not she should stay with Hardin. He says, and I quote, "I'm worried about you because Hardin is complicated." And Landon then goes on to say, "Just be careful." He's literally been showing violent tendencies this whole movie. He did not care about you, then he does. He does not care about you, then he does. He can't make up his mind. He's very aggressive. He breaks things all the time. You've seen him literally sack a dude. And now his legit brother is telling you to be careful? I wonder why. Tessa is stupid, and instead of listening to the only good part of this movie, Landon, she decides it's the perfect time to move into an apartment with Hardin. The pink-haired girl tells Tessa that she's fine, that she's with Hardin in the most passive-aggressive way possible. The way she goes about it, Tessa and Hardin, even though they're living together, are still apparently a secret to the public. Okay, so you guys are living together and we get all these montages, but your friend group doesn't know how serious this is. Something's up at that point. And Tessa's sitting on the couch and Hardin's phone goes off. And Tessa looks at it and sees a text from Molly, who I'm guessing is pink-haired girl. She's saying stuff like, "Meet us here. Have you told her or should I?" And Tessa's honestly kind of rightly bothered by the text. Tessa then questions Hardin about the texts and he says nothing to her and immediately tries to leave. When he realizes that she will not let it go, he simply says, "Do you trust me?" She's like, "Are you cheating? These texts are so suspicious. Just tell me what's going on. Just tell me and I'll believe you." And he's like, "Why don't you trust me?" She responds with, "Yes, I trust you." And he says, "Then what's the problem? You're being shady. That's the problem." Tessa thinks Hardin is cheating on her with the pink-haired girl. The truth is, we find out, that Hardin actually made a bet during the original Truth or Dare game at that awkwardly silent party, that he could get Tessa to fall in love with him and then turn it off. The worst part of the bet is that everyone in the group knew and no one told her. Her roommate knew. And throughout the movie, you see several scenes where the roommate is comforting her as she's down and holding her as she cried. And she didn't tell her. She just let her get played. It was so disgusting because there was literally no girl friendships in the movie. There was no female bonds. Either the females were fighting each other or they were backstabbing each other. I think the movie was made in literally 2019. Do better, show better females, because this is not realistic. They put music and all this stuff that makes us think that this twist was so unexpected. But you're this is so, there's been no buildup. This doesn't make sense. Why are they dating? So when you hear it's a bet, you're not oh my God, he did that. You're oh, makes sense. But so then, Tessa storms out the diner. Hardin chases her to try and work it out, but she leaves because she finally seems to see the 10,000 warning signs that this dude is just not worth it. It doesn't make sense. There's so many plot holes. There's so many things that were not explained in the movie, and it genuinely makes me mad because I'm trying to understand and you just can't. There's this montage, right? And it all leads up to all these moments leading up to Tessa sitting by their lake, the lake where they first kissed. And then Hardin comes and sits next to her and says nothing, and you're how did he know to come? Are they back in contact? What's going on? Is this where they're going to talk about their feelings and get back together? What is happening? And you're sitting there and you're all right, well, let's hear what he has to say then. They look at each other and it fades to black. That's it. The movie is over. That's how the movie ends. It was such a cliffhanger, but it's not, the movie wasn't good enough that you want to watch another one. You're just I was just trying to stick it out to see if you redeemed yourself. But you just left us with a cliffhanger for something I never ever want to see again in my life. That wraps up today's Makeup Monday. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment down below telling me that, you enjoyed it. Also, make sure to add my other social media accounts, especially my Twitter at Logie the Bear, because that is where you can send me requests for future topics for Makeup Mondays. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of these. I will be posting a Makeup Monday video every Monday. I will also be posting covers on Friday, and I will be posting vlogs every other Wednesday. All right, my loves, have a great day, and tune in next week for another Makeup Monday. Bye.
But I know they'll never own me.